This is the biggest podcast where we have amazing members of the One Bone fam in One Bone HQ. So far, all biggest podcasts have been in person, which is nice because a lot of our business happened in the pandemic. So this is really cool. I'm Adam, one of the co-founders of One Bone. Right next to me is Andrew Packer, the creator of Man News, stand-up comedian. Let them know who you are, what you do a little bit. I mean, I just did, but a little bit more.
Yeah, I keep the men informed is what I do. There's been a lot of news stories that have gone out that other news networks just wouldn't cover. You know, you don't see this stuff on BBC. You don't see it on Fox News. You don't see it. And I think the men need to see it.
Yeah.
And what's been great about it is the men have agreed. And over 3.3 million followers across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Let's go. That's as we talk now. When you hear the podcast, it might be a lot more than that. It's super cool having you here. We've got some things going on behind the scenes together that are very exciting. And the biggest podcast is all about going through what you do for a living, who you are as a person, some struggles you've gone through, some triumphs you've gone through, and your relation and affiliation to how you have come to becoming a member of the One Bone fam. So to start, I would basically ask you, here you are creating tons of content on TikTok and YouTube. You're doing stand-up comedy. Where did this all start for Andrew Packer?
How far back are we going?
Well, where
I was born.
Yes. Tell us where, Andrew.
Oshawa, Ontario, just outside Toronto. Everyone from Toronto makes me be very specific that it is not from Toronto.
Right, absolutely.
But if you're not from Canada, Toronto.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you're not from Canada, then Canada. Exactly. Except because of Drake, like now everybody knows Toronto. So it's good. Okay, so Toronto, grew up. Yeah. How'd you find your way into content creation and comedy, etc.?
I found my way into content creation through comedy. I was doing comedy for many, many years, and it just seems that this has become it's just part of the job description now. I think most people are accepting that. Yeah, just being a stand-up comedian that doesn't post any type of content, whether it at least be your stand-up, is just not an option at this point.
I think it's for any industry, period. If you're doing anything, whether you're a real estate agent or a stand-up comedian or a clothing line, if you're not creating content on the internet, you're probably less relevant in what you're doing.
Yeah, so I've been doing stand-up now for almost 9 years. And I have my debut special coming out soon that I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
It's been shot. And I found my way to stand up just because I loved it. I've always loved it. Used to watch it all the time as a kid. And I would deliver newspapers and I would be listening to.
You delivered the news?
Yeah, I would deliver the news, right?
Yeah.
It's a strange circular thing that's taking place. And I used to listen to stand-up while I do that. I listened to Russell Peters was blowing up, Dane Cook was blowing up at that time, Dave Chappelle with his new early stuff, and Chris Rock, and I used to be giggling and listening to that, and then eventually tried it when I was in university or college for our American friends.
How was the first experience? I've been on a microphone for many years of my life, and I tried stand-up comedy a few times, and it is arguably the hardest form of speaking into a microphone because there's just a crazy amount of pressure. People are really, they have hugely high expectations for you. So I guess how was that first experience, and when did you start to feel the comfort level?
The first experience is dizzying. I relate it to jumping out of a plane.
Yeah.
Everything's just kind of coming at you in such a strange way, and the bright light is dizzying, and you don't know how to handle that yet or anything really. But I remember it going okay, considering.
Yeah.
Do
you remember your first bit?
I remember some of the stuff I tried at the beginning, but it's not worth bringing up now.
I feel you. And you're not a stand-up comedian unless you have these experiences, but any experiences of like just everything crashing and burning and you know, again, like we like to talk about the triumphs here, and we're going to get into the special and how the execution of all that came to be, but the struggles as well. You don't start off in a room of hundreds of people and everything going peachy keen. You start off with the crash and burn. So
totally. I mean, I think every comedian kind of has their skills that they're naturally kind of born to. Some people are already very good at the writing portion, and the performance side seems to like take some time for people to get. And then some people are the flip flop of that, where there's great performance, great stage presence, and but the writing, I mean, it's just not there.
Yeah.
And I would say I had neither.
That's good.
Yeah. So I had like, I mean, when I got to Toronto to pursue it seriously, I got there and like it was a really fruitful scene for a new comic. You could go to a lot of different rooms. They had, not only did they have a lot of different open mics, but there were also these like 5 rooms that were kind of like this gray area of people were smoking weed inside these rooms.
Oh, it's and good vibes.
Yeah, but also the shows would go like 4 hours because people would just be like kind of like in there and not aware of time.
Yeah, just stuck.
But it was a great way to get like 10 minutes right away as a new comic. So doing those reps, I was able to do between 15 and 25 spots a week as a brand new comic. And that just like cauterized me for my stage presence. Really helped with that. And then I've just been pushing writing every single day for the past like 6 or 7 years. And that helps that piece.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been coming together since.
and so take us into, you know, a behind the scenes of a stand-up comedian, writer, and the process that goes through that. Obviously, I guess it starts with real life experiences and things that you're pulling from that you, I guess, I would assume you probably have like the notepad always on your iPhone, and like if something funny happens in any way, shape, or form, it's like, okay, that's something that can be fleshed out. Mm-hmm. And then like you're sitting solo, just writing it out like a history paper, you know, like how does it go down?
I mean, it's not linear like you think when you first get into it. Okay. It's not like you write the thing and then you perform it on stage and then you come back and you write another thing. And it's a lot more just kind of abstract than that. Like you're looking for ideas, but you want to, like I'm trying to search for ideas that, like, stage time is so precious.
Yeah.
That's how we eat. That's like our nutrition as comedians. So you want to make sure you're using that time efficiently and with respect. And so you could talk about anything.
Yeah.
You know, anything could be talked about.
You're the master.
And so what you choose to talk about also, that is like another layer of just who you are and what the audience is receiving right off the bat. So trying to find different places of where in your life you want to talk about has been a really fun thing to search for. And writing so much has gotten me to a point where I've exhausted being excited about certain topics in a good way. Like when a lot of comics start, they want to go edgy and they'll like say things that are very like offensive or whatever, and that's fine. Like write that stuff, but at a certain point, for me, like doing that stuff, I didn't like having the audience react like that.
A little cringy,
you know, like they would laugh, but at a certain point, you get so many of those laughs, you start to notice how that laugh is different from different laughs.
Right.
And that
maybe
laugh,
a little more uncomfortable, I guess. And like,
yeah. So you're searching for different types of laughs and different types of buttons to push. And I mean, I just ranted forever, but it's abstract to sum up.
Right. Yeah. So it's not, okay. So like you said, it's not linear. Like the way I see it in my head is like idea happens, go home, write out like, you know, this happened, so this would be a funny thing to talk about, and and like start to block it together, not how it goes down.
I mean, that could be how that's one way for sure, but the stand-up is like a collaborative experience with the audience. So to just go up with what you've written and not veer away to search for other things when you're currently writing the bit, when you're trying to figure out how it's going to be funny, I think that detracts from potential of finding. Sometimes you you start a bit with an idea, and then that original idea has to die because of you found better ideas that the bit becomes.
Right.
And so they grow, they evolve, they're alive.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept. Like, I feel like if you are a fan of stand-up comedy and you've been to live shows, you've probably experienced a stand-up comedian testing the waters with you. And I guess now it's cool to get that behind the curtain because you understand that they're testing things out. What you don't understand is that they're collaborating with you and they're trying to build and write basically like on the fly. Like it's writing and recording a song, but also being able to freestyle in the midst of that song while you're on stage. Super cool, like to finally understand that.
Yeah, and every comic has like a different style of way to go about it too. So
of course,
that's just I like part of what I love about stand up is pulling the veil of confusing the audience of what is pre-prepared and what is just happening for us right now.
Right.
And be surprised which is which sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we spoke about your following on the internets, and there's a lot of stand-up comedians. There's a lot of people in general, like I said, in many different industries that are trying to develop a career out of something that hopefully they love, like stand-up comedy. And I want to know how, the world of internet and building such a big audience kind of, I can't say fell into your lap, because this is something that is built out and it's exhausting and extensive. And so where did, we go back, I guess, 9 or 10 years to the beginning point of your stand-up. Mm-hmm. Where did, you leaning into social media and building out that fall into place?
I always recognized it as something that was important, but...
You recognized it as something as being important, but did you know, like, out the gates that, like, I need to go all in this to also go all in this? Or it was just, like, kind of something that, like, happened?
Well, it didn't just happen. I for sure made a decision, but I think earlier in developing, I wasn't good at stand-up.
Right. So like you had to do something.
And I love stand-up, so I just focused on that, which, not to say some people might be able to focus on more than one thing, and because I didn't come from like a video base or video background. Like I did a degree in finance. Yeah. And then was like, I'm going to be an entertainer.
Yeah, exactly. And Mom and Dad must have been thrilled.
Everybody was like, well, my parents were like, well, we got him through uni, at least we've checked that box for our friends. Yeah. And my dad was strangely overly supportive because he's such a funny guy. Like I get a lot of my humor from him. My mom's also very funny, but she's more in like she'll just be processing the situation quietly, and then she'll just come through with like
the sharp.
And you're just like, whoa, like the whole, like everyone's just like,
like the entire environment's thrown off kilter because she's just been sitting in the back, just like, and brings in that dagger. It's great.
Yeah, so they're both very funny in very different styles, but they were like I used to watch so much stand up with my parents, and it was always something that brought us together and allowed us to talk about anything. Like even like I grew up in a very Christian household, so even like we watched George Carlin and enjoyed it together.
Wow.
And George Carlin, does a lot of punching,
crosses the line.
And also some parents might have been like, oh, that's not okay for a 14-year-old or whatever, but
they leaned in.
They allowed it to for me to, because it was really, really fun. So I just loved how freeing the form of art was and everything. And I just fell in love with stand-up, and stand-up's what I will do until I die.
Cool.
So that was the main focus at the beginning. And then when the world just went, I was like, oh, what now?
You're like, oh, remember that thing that I was doing where I was getting in front of people live? That can't happen anymore.
It caught me so off guard, too, because my whole thing was stand-up. Like, every night I would go out, I'd be processing my life and it would be cathartic, and I'd be like, oh, sick. I'm like, with stand-up, nothing can touch me, because anything that goes bad in my life, it's going to be a great new 5 minutes.
Right.
And I was like, sick.
Yeah.
Like, done.
Yeah.
And then the universe,
it's a great way of coping.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It is. And then the universe was just like, yeah, what if it didn't exist?
Like, oh, yeah.
You could do that?
Yeah. Now, everything bad in your life is actually really bad. There's no upside.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And this thing you've been working on for like, you know, your whole adult life is non-existent. So what do you have? Anyway, but you know, it did, like, stand up gave me a lot of confidence in comedic chops, you know, because making somebody viscerally laugh in the moment, I feel like you can translate that into another medium, whereas it might be more challenging to translate from the other mediums into the live. A lot of people struggle with that. So it gave me confidence to just kind of put myself out there. And in the pandemic, I started making, like, I remember one TikTok a day was like so exhausting.
Yeah.
And I would try to do that. And then I did that consistently for months on end. And then I stepped away, took a break, and then came back to it maybe a couple times. And then eventually just one day I was like, you know what, like, I had people inspiring me around me. Like, I'm very lucky to have people like, I was touring with Che Durena, Follow Me, Fucking Idiots.
Yeah.
I was touring with him for 4 years.
He's a beauty.
Before he blew up.
Yeah.
And I got to experience that with him. And same with Nima, like, blowing up even earlier. Just having these people around me that are just genuine, awesome dudes was really inspiring, because, you know, it just made it real. And so I, you know, took that inspiration and just started making, at one point I was making 6 TikToks a day, like posting 4 to 5 of them a day, and then doing that consistently every day. And and so in that process, like, eventually Man News came as one of the ideas. And once I hooked it, I was like, oh, I think there's, the first one I made, I was like, I think there's something here. Mm-hmm. And 4 or 5 days went by, nothing. Like, it was like, they did just as good as anything else, like 500, 600 views.
Right.
And then after 4 or 5 days, all of a sudden it like ripped past 100,000 up to like 330,000 after a couple of days. And I was like, ooh, this is something.
Yeah.
But still no one else, like, obviously no one else knew it. It's just one video going viral. But
right.
I saw that this had like serious potential, and that also I'm like connecting with dudes.
Yeah, of course.
That are like me. And so, like that, as soon as that went viral, I was like, I had my suit and I was like, buddy, we're making this.
This is me now.
Yeah. This is me now. Yeah.
And okay, so, you know, you explain you're wrapped around like some inspirational people and guys who, you know, figured out cracking the internet much like yourself. What was the vibe always like? Motivational between you guys? Was there a major like dark time that you hit? Or I mean, you like, just in knowing you many FaceTimes and a couple of times in person, you seem like all good, you seem like everything is epic, you know, but like, what's the altar of that, if that exists?
Well, there's for sure ebbs and flows to the growth, and the app's kind of like like, at the end of the day, you have to step back and see it from as a whole of who's running these algorithms and what their intention is. And the intention is keep as many people watching as possible and keep creators making as much as possible. And so, you know, that's the intention. And so, you know, these apps are so massive that they could have teams of psychologists deciding how to ebbs and flows these views so that creators continue like enthralled with the app so that they make more. Yeah. And then obviously watch time's king, so people stuck to that. So just managing your expectations and processing like viral, I'm huge, I went up 100K this week, to everything. All of a sudden you're like, every time you open the app, you've got like 12 new followers, and a video won't break 10K despite you having over 1 million followers. You're like, stuff like that's constantly happening. And it is, I think the biggest challenge for me has been myself. And the people around me, I've been very, very fortunate. Like Nima and Che and the other Mark, like other creators around. There's been none of that energy of like jealousy or competition.
That's amazing.
Like literally, I would talk to Che, and he's the first person I heard. There's no such thing as competition. There's only collaboration.
Oh, absolutely.
And things like that. You know, just having that around has been without these guys around me, I can't say that I'd be anywhere close to, where I'm currently at. So,
right.
Yeah.
On a personal side of things, you unlocked a wild story to me. We talk about the pandemic, you talk about your life, everyone's life shutting down, but you in particular, and performing live for people. Mm-hmm. And then we're in our new office and we're wrapping up lunch, and you just unleash a little gem of your life in the pandemic. Tell us what happened and how it happened.
Okay. Yeah. It's the way things unfold sometimes with life, you think life's kicking you in the gut, and your choice in that moment is to find the silver lining, but sometimes it just reveals itself, right? So, I was living in the West Coast doing this company moved me out there I was doing sales. I was selling coconut water. I gotta say the whole coconut water because people see my face and they're like, "What were you selling?"
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I got the nose.
Yeah, 100%. It's sharp.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing, and that was an exciting thing to have happen because I got to live in a new comedy scene, which was really fruitful for just creativity.
Yeah.
While working and having a good job. But then, boom, all of a sudden, New York office made a decision to axe Canada, and I got laid off within 4 months of being moved out there.
Oh my God.
And my plan was no, I was going to leave you. What is this?
Yeah, I'm blowing up.
I was going to leave you in a year. No, I still had no following. It was still really not stand up. I was touring, but no real social following or presence. So very scary time. And then you were deciding with my fiance, now then girlfriend, but eventually fiance.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And we've been talking about going to Asia for so long, and I knew there was a bubbling comedy scene out there. So I was like, let's do that. We packed up our whole our apartment.
And this is when?
So in March of 2019, I got laid off. Okay. And then in December 2019, we left to go to Asia, landing in Singapore.
Okay, so we're not even in the pandemic.
Not yet, no.
And
I felt like I needed this precursor.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the travel time was scheduled for how long were you planning on going for?
We were gonna travel through Asia until eventually going to Australia to do our working holiday visa, and I was just gonna tour Australia and learn how comedy is out there.
You were going to find yourself.
Yeah.
Did you?
We found a trip for sure. Just wasn't the trip we planned.
Yeah. So I guess we're now curling up on March 2020.
Yeah, March 2020, I'm in the Philippines doing some shows, and then I'm in this island, and all of a sudden everybody's just we were scuba diving all day. And then
life's awesome.
Life's awesome.
Yeah.
We were shipwreck scuba diving. We're just it was a great day, lovely day.
Yeah, nobody could get sick or the world.
No. And we get back and you couldn't be more relaxed when you go scuba diving. You've been under meters underwater looking at another universe.
Yeah. You come up immersed. It's a high.
You're so relaxed.
Yeah.
Right? And we're just vibing and we're just looking and everything seems a little chaotic, but we're this probably always looks like that.
Yeah.
We're just really relaxed.
We're so relaxed. Yeah.
And we just walk over to this little ice cream shop, and my fiance and I were sitting there and we're just enjoying ice cream, and all of a sudden this girl comes up to us. She's probably 23, and she's like, are you guys flying out today? And we're oh, no. No, why would we? What? And she's like, okay, well, because flights. And we're all right, I don't know what. All right,
we'll be fine.
Yeah,
scuba diving.
Flights in a couple days or whatever. And then whole world's shutting down, and then it's real. The president comes on, and he's of the Philippines, and he's you've got 24 hours to get out.
Oh my
or
God.
That's a wrap. And we're just on this island in the Philippines being we're on our way to Australia. And the whole world just shut down, and we were just on this island called Siargao that Yeah, they had signs. They started printing out signs, which I realized later after living there a while that Filipino people just love printing signs. They're just like, what? Is your kid graduate? Let's print a sign.
Right.
Let's go. So they printed out.
Great signature move.
Yeah, they printed out all these signs that just said like, all tourists must leave.
Right.
And then every flight got canceled. Every flight I tried to book to get out got canceled.
So you're scrambling. You're like, you're panicked.
A little panicked, yeah. Trying to figure out like, because at the beginning of the pandemic, remember that like 3 minutes that everybody was like, virus?
Yeah.
Is it zombies? Like everybody was wondering, right? Like,
100%.
So even that, like everything's up in the air at that point. And then the island I was on, there was like probably 1,500 tourists that were stuck there. They sent enough flights for 300.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool move.
And we were lucky because we didn't have like an apartment to get back to, or jobs to get back to.
Right.
A lot of people were in that place, and they're like, ugh.
So how long were you there for?
We were supposed to be there for a week.
Yeah.
And we were there for 7 months.
Oh, okay. just a short travel extension.
Yeah.
7 months.
To a point where you're like, oh, so I live here.
Yeah, I am Filipino now.
Yeah.
So,
I was literally climbing coconut trees, and now I've got this weird circle thing of like,
you've really got a craving for Coke and nuts.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I used to sell coconut water. Now I'm climbing trees and farming. Like I learned how to make coconut wine. This local guy met me, like taught me how to do that, where you take the flour and you chop it every day. And yeah, that was like a fun routine to have. And
so you're not working out there for 7 months?
No, well, actually, so
are you collecting like CERB or whatever in Canada?
Well, I was making like TikToks, and because I had been touring as a stand-up comedian for like the whole at least 3 years at that point, like I did qualify. Although I know it's still a touchy subject for people, right? But I mean, like, I paid my taxes, and then my taxes came back to me. Yeah, sick.
Yeah, right. You're a finance guy.
Anyways, so we were out there, and then I started running stand-up comedy shows on the island. I convinced a bunch of locals to start doing comedy. I'm like, you could be the next Joe Coy. And they were like, oh! And it was really cool. Like, it was actually really fun because these people coming into it from all these different walks of life. Some people locals, some people, the expats that are there and trying stand-up comedy. And then I would host and headline the shows. And they were really fun. Yeah, I was doing like 100% crowds in the heat of COVID. You're
like, well, maybe I really do stay here forever. It's a crazy story. I mean, everyone has a crazy story from that time, but I mean, to be trapped on an island for 7 months is pretty wild. Yeah. So now we're in 2023. Earlier we mentioned you have a special. Yeah. You again have built this audience online enough to merit you being a good enough stand-up comedian and putting together a special for yourself. What was that experience like? Coming from, starting out 9-10 years ago, ending up trapped in the Philippines for 7 months, running your own illegal stand-up comedy ring there.
Okay, it was legal.
With all the coconuts. And so now here you are back in Canada on your home soil, putting together something like that. What was it like?
Really an incredible experience and challenging, but also blessing in disguise. Like, when you get into entertainment, there is like a component of part of you wants to believe in this, like, the old school star system idea of Hollywood of like, I got discovered and then all of a sudden he was huge everywhere and one performance on the Tonight Show and all of a sudden theater tours.
Yes.
And you expect that, you hope that there's like an industry for that and stuff. And my experience was, constantly getting better, just focusing on getting better, and then picking my head up from time to time, looking around and not really feeling any notice from industry. Right. And that kind of, you at first you're like, why?
Why aren't I getting the nod?
I feel like I'm doing good, and it's inevitable that you're going to compare yourselves to other people. So sure. Sometimes you feel like you should have gotten something. But it all worked out as it should, it felt like, with doing this special, because it's like a year after I had initially wanted to, but the material developed so much, and I planned my whole like strategy to get the material into a place where I knew it would be strong. Like I planned and I did like a full run at Edinburgh where you do 160 shows in 30 days. Like
Wow.
take that in, like 8 shows some days.
Yeah.
I would do 8 shows. And
That's
so
crazy.
playing to a completely different UK and European audience and also all over the world. So getting outside that North American bubble, trying the material there, going to South Africa, performing in South Africa, trying the material there, doing competitions throughout the States and then back up into coast to coast in Canada tour. Like I made all those things kind of happen for myself to get the material to a place, and then fully produced my own special, planning everything from the venue to the backdrop to how everything will lay out, anything that's surprising that might take place in the special that's different from any other special.
Hint.
It allowed me to do all these things that let me inform the art with my personality. And I know that if like other companies came to me or production studios that do stand-up, they came to me, I would have gotten really nicely high-produced stand-up comedy, but it would have been missing the element of like all of my personality put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I truly can say that with this special that's going to come out, I put everything I had into it, and I'm really excited about the final product that's coming out.
Amazing. And depending on when this podcast comes out, it's either out already and it's in the link below, or it's coming out shortly. And you should definitely keep your eyes open. Do you have a name for the special? Or is it still unrevealed?
It's going to be called On Guard. Yeah.
I feel like you got to see the special to know and understand that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so I want to talk One Bone for a second. And I want to talk about how you were introduced to One Bone, and your first experience with us.
Mm-hmm.
So how were you introduced to One Bone?
I was just on tour with my good friend Nima Nazari. Took me, or sorry, I should say Nima Naz. Nima.
Yeah.
And I've been touring or doing shows with Nima for years. We started open mics together.
Okay.
And so it's been cool. And also my fiance is half Persian, so I tend to attract a lot of Persian people around me.
Cool.
I love Persian people. So
me too. By the way. I don't attract them as much, but I love them as well.
yeah. Salam Chitori, if you're listening right now.
What he said.
And so I was just on tour with Nima and Mark Anthony, and we both.
Like the Mark Anthony? Like
not Mark Anthony,
like,
no. Mark Anthony Synagoga.
Okay.
Hilarious comic.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
And so they just told me, they're like, we're on our Montreal show. They're like, we're going to stop by this like warehouse. And I was like, all right. And then we showed up, and that's how I came and introduced to One Bone, and you guys.
And I'll give you our perspective, which we love, is, we're consuming content on the internet also, just like anybody else. And, coming across a Nima, coming across a Mark Anthony, and then seeing those guys wear our stuff, which again, One Bone started out as a big and tall brand, and they're big boys. And to see them rocking is a major sense of pride for us. And about 6 months into us being a brand, we became size inclusive. So we went from size 1 to 5, and then we brought it down to size -2, which is what you're wearing, which is pretty much a medium. I'm a size 2, and then we go all the way up to 8XL, which is our size 7. And what's cool about it is like the initial intention was to make sure that guys like Nima and Mark are feeling more comfortable and confident on stage. And then here you are brought with the big crew, and you're walking through our doors. And for us, the fact that you have now become an ambassador of One Bone, and you're a size -2 and an A pant, which is, a 30 to 33 inch waist and a medium sized shirt, for us is incredible, because it speaks to the whole ethos of what we are, is inclusivity and considering the big man first, but making sure that everyone is feeling comfortable and confident. And so again, it's like they brought you here, and now you've become such a teammate in this. So
And it's finally a brand that, makes clothes for people size like me,
Exactly. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Do you feel included?
I do.
Good. Because I'm sure you felt excluded from fashion in the malls for so many years.
Well, that's what they said, Mark and Diva. They were like, yeah, we're going to go here. They make awesome clothing. Like, check this out. And they'd show me their clothes. And I'm like, cool.
Yes, it's not for me.
Yeah. And then it was.
Yeah.
And I love the shirts, man. They fit so nice. And the passion you guys have behind your fabrics. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I noticed first when I was here. Like, you guys were like we were trying on clothes, and you guys, we got this new fabric coming. It's gonna be here like a month, but check out this one.
Yeah,
Look at the inside of it. And I was like, okay, these guys, passion. I like that.
We definitely are passionate about our fabrics and the way it feels on the body. How did it feel wearing One Bone for your special?
Felt great. Yeah. When I'm on stage, it's the last thing I want to think about. But also, you anticipate that, like, for me, I get physical. I move around a lot, and then also, like, I will sweat if it's hot, which it is. But so I was wearing like the Michael, and it was just nice because like that piece of clothing, it doesn't make you feel like you're just getting sweaty or anything, and it's it's stretchy, so it moves a lot, and then I don't have to worry about ironing, which I like that too.
Yeah, wrinkle free. We got you.
Yeah.
And again, like just the psychology of it all in terms of like it being a big and all brand and the inclusion aspect, like yourself on the smaller spectrum and having your host Mark Anthony being in the middle, and like. Where does that play into your like newfound passion for our brand? Just everyone feeling as comfortable and confident as possible.
I think it just fits so nice, and not only just the way the shirt fits, but also just the way I kind of tailor my comedy. At least even just with what I do online, my stand up is for literally everyone. I couldn't just perform shows in front of just men.
Yeah.
It would be weird.
Yeah, it would be weird.
So
some sort of fraternity or something?
Yeah. No, my stand-up is for literally everyone, but I do recognize, like, I can see that my following, the people that do connect the same way I do, it's 93% dudes. Yeah. So 93%, man, and it's all dudes. It's dudes of all sizes. And throughout America too, which we know we got the full range in the States.
We got you.
So they just felt like it fit,
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's been a pleasure catching up with you, chatting it up. This is the biggest podcast. You're rocking a brand new French Terry roll-up t-shirt, which you can grab online on onebone.com. You got the Vic on in black. I've got a long sleeve scoop with the print on the side. Where can people find you if they haven't already experienced Man News? If they haven't already experienced Andrew Packer, tell them where they can find you.
Well, you want to check out for my special. It's going to be going up on YouTube at And Packer.
Do you know YouTube? Have you heard of it?
Yeah. But also, like, if you can't remember Andrew Packer, which a lot of people, it's a name. Who gives a shit.
Yeah. Right? Also, just a generic.
Just Man News right there.
Boom.
So just search Man News on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, and something that I've made should pop up, and you can fall into the funnel.
Agreed. Like with us on all socials, One Bone Brand and onebone.com for all of your gear necessities. That is the biggest podcast. Have the biggest day. Peace.